probably Manchester United have been linked with several midfielders this summer. Now, in this video, I want to kind of look at and pick the ideal midfielder for Manchester United. There has been 6 shortlisted by Ben Jacobs, and I'll go through who those 6 are, what he said on those 6, as well as some other things as well. So these are the 6-man shortlist that Manchester United have in for 2026. Carlos Baleba, Elliot Anderson, Adam Wharton, Angelo Stiller, Conor Gallagher, and Andre Santos. Now, this is what he said on them and the most realistic one happening. So he said on the most gettable deal for Manchester United in midfield at this moment is what in January will be Conor Gallagher from Atletico Madrid. He has a stronger chance of departing mid-season. Gallagher is a likely deal for Atletico, open the door to a loan formula. However, if United do sign him permanently, he will cost in excess of £35 million. Angelo Stiller looks unlikely in January, however, is one to keep an eye on in the summer. Elliot Anderson is on the radar, nothing is advanced and nothing will take place in January. Carlos Baleba, they have ruled out a January move. Baleba and Adam Wharton may be interested in Manchester United, but are both ideally want to play Champions League football. Does that start on the midfield? Personally, I think you look at the midfield options that we have. We need a massive improvement, and we've known that for a long time. Now, it won't probably come this season. I think we need more deeper line playmakers like your Whartons, your Balebas, your Elliot Andersons, rather than Angelo Stiller, Andre Santos, and who was the other one? Andre Santos and Conor Gallagher, who are more attacking players. And I think you look at Manchester United's price, in terms of price-wise, it would probably go Baleba first, then Wharton, then Anderson, then Stiller, then Santos. No, then Gallagher, then Santos. So yeah, listen, on each of those players, the 2 that I don't want are Andre Santos and Conor Gallagher. Not that Gallagher don't fit the system. I think if he was to join in January, he'd definitely give us good competition and a good bit of footballing ability and some good quality to the team. But you look at what we need. We need a deep line playmaker. Yes, potentially looking at Bruno Fernandes' replacement as well. But is Conor Gallagher that sort of player that is going to be the Bruno Fernandes replacement? I don't think so. Now, again, my ideal choice, it would be Wharton 1, Baleba 2, Elliot Anderson 3. But to be honest, I'd be happy with any of those 3. I think they're all very different players profile-wise, but have very unique capabilities that can offer Manchester United a massive improvement on what we currently have. I think you look at the midfield that we've had this season so far. Casemiro's look good. They've looked all right, but we definitely know there's more improvement there needed. And I think getting these sorts of players will be fantastic. In terms of the one that I would go for, as I said, Wharton, I think you could probably get him for 70 million. I think Anderson, depending on how the future goes this season with Forest, again, depending on where they finish in Europe and where they finish in the league, it will be potentially a very difficult deal to do. He's only just left Newcastle the season before that. And again, I think it'd be difficult to negotiate with Forest. But I think Baleba, again, he's someone who Brighton have no intention to let go. But I think the main focus for me would looking at that deep line playmaker, and mine would be Adam Wharton. I think on the ball he's fantastic, Premier League experience, as are most of the players in there. The only one that don't have Premier experience is Stiller, and with Andre Santos also playing for Forest and as well as Chelsea. But Wharton for me would be the ideal choice. I've watched Anderson, I think he's a good player, and I think if you look at Wharton, imagine a Wharton or Kobe Mainoo midfield. Again, will we see a chance where Manchester United get 2? Probably not. I think the max we could probably get out of those 6 would be 1. I mean, you could see potentially an Adam Wharton and Angelo Stiller, or you could see potentially Conor Gallagher come in January. So there are definitely options there. I think if I had to sign one midfielder, I think ideally we probably do need 2 to replace Bruno if he goes next season, and to replace Casemiro anyway. I think the 2 that I would go for out of those 6 I've mentioned would be Adam Wharton as the 6th, and I would actually go for Elliot Anderson as the more progressive player in there. I think Anderson's someone who can definitely do that, and he has a very, very good profile and a very, very good bit of quality as well. So yeah, that's the midfielder conversation there. I think we've kind of been needing to have one. I think we've been needing a midfielder as well now for a while. I think you look at the position that look at the 2 that we've been playing. Ugarte, you don't really favour, and I think you look at Bruno, he's one of those players that Amorim don't want to drop for unless he's suspended really or injured. So yeah, I think Anderson, Wharton would be two very good players, but I'd be happy with Baleba. Haven't seen too much of Angelo Stiller from Frankfurt, but again, Conor Gallagher would much be, I value Conor Gallagher more as a 10 rather than a 2 in that midfield. But again, I think 10s wise, we're pretty stacked. You got Cunha, you got Mbeumo, Xerxes still here, Mount will probably still be here next year. Ahmad can play there. So there are options there. I think the midfield is the one. Right now we have Ugarte, Casemiro, Bruno and Mainu. So we're in desperate need for those midfielders to come in. So let's see what does happen. Let me know your thoughts. Who would you bring in the midfield? Would you go for a more experienced player, like a Wharton? I know they're still young, but more experienced in the league. Or would you go for someone like an Andre Santos, who doesn't really have much experience playing in the Prem, has played in the Prem, but don't really get many minutes? But yeah, I know who I would go for. If I had to rank them, I'll quickly rank them from 1 to 6. I'd go Wharton 1, Baleba 2, Anderson 3, Stiller 4, Conor Gallagher 5, and then Andre Santos 6. But let me know your thoughts. Who would you sign for United in midfield?